lived in Foreman, Arkansas. My father was a rancher and a farmer. He primarily had cattle, and he got too big for a black man in Foreman, Arkansas, and they wanted to send the Klan for him. And they actually called one night and on the phone and told him that they were going to send the Klan for him. And my father's response was, "They'll come Ku Klux, but they'll go back a goddamn few Klux." And they never came. And after that, my mother said, "It's time to leave." My father sold off the cattle that he could and as much farmland as he could. And we moved to Tucson and ended up losing most of it because the folks who lived there refused to buy the property from my father. And ultimately, it went into foreclosure and they got it for pennies on the dollar. My father was killed in a work-related accident when I was 8, I think. And that, of course, changed our family dynamics. It changed the way, the rest of my growing up was. And I don't remember him. And that's, I think, the saddest part, is that I was so young and so little that I don't remember him. And I think my life might have been far different had my father not met an untimely death. I got into television because I was interested in writing. Even in elementary school, I was a good writer. They'd take us to a concert at the university, and I'd come back and write a paper, and it would be posted by the principal in the hallway, and I was always so proud of my writing. And went through junior high and high school, and didn't think much a lot. I was interested in political science more than anything else. And when I went to the University of Arizona, I decided, well, what can you do with a degree in political science? I'm not real sure. But if I have a degree in journalism, I can always get a job. And I thought perhaps I wanted to be a writer, write books. And I thought, well, I can always support myself as a journalist. And tried with the newspapers in my hometown. They weren't hiring, and my major professor in journalism suggested a television station, and I was hired by the first station that I applied to. WFAA came and offered me a job. There was a man who had retired from the Dallas Morning News, the parent company of WFAA, who told them about me, and I don't know if they saw tapes or what, but they offered me a job one time, and the first time I came down and I thought, I don't think so. Went back and I was happily, working away in Tucson, and they came back a second time, and it was at that point that I was about ready to move. I'd done everything and learned everything there was to learn in a small market like Tucson. So I opted to take this job rather than go to LA looking for a job. And the rest, as they say, is history. I was raised by a single mother, and I was not used to getting any favors from men or being pampered by men or anything like that. So I was pretty strong-willed and never experienced any sexual harassment, and no really racial harassment either. When I first came in, I was one of the few women in the news department and the only African American. And everybody kind of accepted me, and in fact, they didn't know what to make of me, because I had grown up around, an integrated setting all my life, and it was not uncommon for me to be around whites, Hispanics, Asians, everybody. So it wasn't a particular shock for me to come and work in an all-male or an all-white environment, and it worked out fine. I did have some people, think that, well, maybe a woman's not quite right for this job or right for that story and that sort of thing. It was minimal. I can't say that it was terribly bad for me. But then I was always aggressive and, kind of a pusher and a self-starter and that, and didn't take any bull from anybody. And I guess I kind of resonated that, and I never got any. So maybe I was fortunate. I don't know, but I think a lot of it has to do with your own personality, and your sense of worth, and whether people treat you as a secondary citizen, or if you think of yourself as first grade, they're going to treat you that way. And I had the benefit of that. My mother always told us that, we were second to nobody. We were as good as anybody else, and I believe that till this day. When I got here, my strong suit was reporting and human stories, and stories that related to people.
Nancy Harrison is one of the growing number of victims of this new breed of thieves. 8 of her prize plants were stolen in broad daylight Saturday from her front porch while she was at home. It's been the policy of Texans in the past to hang men for horse thievery, and you get the impression from talking to this plant grower that if she'd caught the man stealing her potted plants, his fate would have been many times worse than that of the horse thief. A Dallas real estate broker has been charged with blockbusting in Southwest Oak Cliff for allegedly encouraging residents to sell because minorities were moving in. Dallas fair housing officials say plans are to hire an independent company to conduct surveys in neighborhoods like this one to determine how residents came to settle here. In particular, to determine if certain groups are being steered into areas like this for the purpose of segregation. 42,000 baby chicks will be destroyed tomorrow morning in Joaquin. And estimates are that that number will climb to 300,000 by the end of next week. These people were once self-sufficient nomads and farmers. Now their lives are totally dependent on international relief efforts. Should these programs falter, tens of thousands more could starve to death. This is the port of Mogadishu on the Indian Ocean, where 90% of the supplies for the refugees come in. This American-based ship, the Dolly Turman, is just one of several bringing supplies in from America to Somalia.
It was, I guess 2 or 3 years before I started actually doing more anchoring than reporting.
This is the News 8 Update with Iola Johnson.
You may never have heard of voice prints, but some experts claim your voice is almost as distinctive as your fingerprints. The man convicted only 2 weeks ago of murdering Dallas policeman Robert Wood has filed a $5 million damage suit. The federal government today approved a new form of drug to treat genital herpes, a disease that affects some 20 million Americans.
Well, as I know you know, and as you perhaps already know, this is Iola's final broadcast as co-anchor at Channel 8. She ends her association with WFAA-TV after 12 distinguished years as an anchor and a reporter.
Thank you all. It's been a good 11 and a half, 12 years here at Channel 8.
Good night.
Good night.
Reporting is not what it once was, and I don't think reporters are what they once were. When I started and other women started coming into the industry, we had to go out and really knock on doors and work hard in the industry, and there was a lot of resentment to a number of women, especially when the numbers started growing. Men felt threatened and felt that they were going to lose their jobs to women, and a lot of women suffered sexual harassment and that sort of thing. But I think I was always a tough chippy, and they knew better than to mess with me. Nobody ever did anything that was out of line with me, but I always held myself to a higher standard as well. I didn't try to play on the, I'm a sweet little girl, to get anything. I got it square and fair, and if you get it that way, you earn it that way, then nobody's going to see you any differently. I'd say stand on your own 2 feet, stand your ground, don't take any shortcuts. There are a lot of people who will simply do any kind of a story just to get on air. That's not where I come from and what I believe in. So I would say, make sure you stand your ground and go out there and dig for stories and call people up and have sources, and that will make the difference. Whereas if you just wait to pull something off the wire or have someone hand it to you, it's not quite the same thing. I loved my career. I think it was relating to people and meeting new people and doing interesting things. doing things that the average person never has an opportunity to do, you know, going into a hospital operating room or something like that, whereas the average person never has an opportunity to do a lot of the things that reporters do. And you're telling people a story, and you're telling them about things that they otherwise would not be exposed to, and you're there doing it firsthand, and I think that's the best part of journalism. I had a wonderful time. I enjoyed my career, enjoyed the people that I met. I met people that I would have never encountered otherwise, and it was wonderful. So the only thing I can say is I enjoyed it tremendously, and I wouldn't trade places with anybody else.